Cool. Then we're going to get into it. As with every week, we have kind of a different theme for the training, whether it be sales, marketing systems, or business models and kind of frameworks, really all with the goal of growing the business. And today specifically is on the sales side of things. And it's something that has come up in a lot of conversation for most of you that are, that sell through some type of sales call, whether that's like an in-person demo evaluation consultation, whether that's literally over the phone, whether you're going to people or they're coming to you, regardless if you're using that kind of consultation, sales, demo as your kind of sales mechanism, then you end up doing all of this work to get a lead in the door. It's like hard enough just to do that, but like, how do we actually get them across the finish line, or better yet, as I like to say, across the starting line, to where we can actually start working with that new lead as a client, where they're paying us, we're delivering the best value that we absolutely can. And so I've got a training for y'all today that I've been working on, really to help kind of solve this problem, share some of the collective wins and strategies and things that are working for others. But also just kind of what I have seen and what we have seen work across the board, multiple verticals, multiple industries, niches, kind of regardless of where you're at in the world, where you're at in your business. And so I call this the show rate optimizer. These really are proven strategies. These are based on data, based on real-time experiments and tests, just like any kind of marketing or business change is. You come up with an idea, you have a hypothesis. If you can take yourself back to the scientific method when, we were all in elementary school, middle school, and high school running science experiments, our teacher said, you got to come up with a hypothesis, something to test. Then you actually test it. And then based on the data, you say, okay, like, was our hypothesis correct? If we add this thing into our funnel, into our acquisition system, are we actually going to get more leads to come on to sales calls with us? Of the sales calls that we book, are we going to get more of them to actually show up? And probably most importantly, are we going to get more of those leads to actually convert to become customers? Because to be honest, for some of your prospects who no-show you, it might actually be better that they no-show you, because better that than potentially wasting an hour or more of your time to never end up buying because they weren't ready. So we're going to dive into all of that. Really, the goal of the training is to increase your appointment show rates with those new leads. Should be obvious as to why it matters, but for the sake of clarity, those higher show rates will lead to more opportunities. The more offers that you can make in your business, the more money that you're going to make in your business, the more impact that you can have with the service that you offer, and obviously the better ROI, or return on investment, with your marketing dollars and lead generation efforts, aka more bang for your buck, right? So what does that process look like? Well, you do all of this work up front, right? Where someone is a complete stranger, they don't know you from Adam, they don't know your business, and then there at some point a first impression is made. That first impression might be because they did a search on Google. That first impression might be made because they heard about you from a friend, they saw you on a billboard, they saw you at an event, they saw your truck with the wrap on it. Whatever that first impression is, at some point there's an encounter with your business, an encounter with your brand. That in and of itself is a whole lot of work to get to that point. Then you have to do the hard work of, now that you have visibility, actually inviting them to give you their contact information, to give you a call, to text your business, to fill out a form on your site. That's where they become a new lead. Then we have to go through the work of actually engaging them. Can we get them to respond to a text message, to an email, to check out our booking calendar, to engage with our AI or our human staff who's setting appointments? And then that's where we can go ahead and finally get the appointment booked. So all this work leads up to that point. And if we don't follow through effectively, this is what happens. And who here has seen this happen? I know I've seen it in our business, in other businesses that I've worked with, where you have this leaky bucket. And I very intentionally picked the the flying wings cash emoji, because that's what it is happening. There's cash flow that is leaving your pipeline. It is quickly exiting your pipeline, up and to the right, not the good up and to the right, which is where we want to see our sales revenue go, but it's actually like leaving your funnel. So all of that hard work just to lose them right before you have the opportunity to make an offer. So we definitely, we don't want that to happen, which is obviously the importance of why this show rate optimizer and kind of looking at really the problem of why does this happen in the first place, so that we can come up with a good solution to like how we are going to solve this, how we're going to set a hypothesis in our business and start to test things that we can implement to increase our show rate. So first off, we have to understand, why do no-shows happen? They happen for a whole bunch of different reasons, and some of these are probably obvious to you, and others may not be. First off, there's a lack of urgency or perceived value. So to be frank, it's just not important enough to your prospects. You know, they may have seen what you have to offer them. They fill out a form, they responded to an email, they put something on their calendar, but just as with anything, you know, a mentor of mine told me once, he said, hey, show me your calendar, show me your bank account, and I will show you your priorities. So I could say 24/7, 365, 7 days a week that, you know, my kids are important to me. I could say my health is important to me. I could say my faith is important to me. But if you looked at my bank account, like, would that line up with the places I'm spending my money? And then even more important than my money are the places where I'm spending my time. Does that actually reflect? And, you know, there's nothing right, wrong, or indifferent about what I choose is important. But at the point that I am booking a sales consult with someone that I might potentially buy a service from, sure, that might be important for me. It might be important for me to work out that service, you know, or it might be important for me to solve a problem that I have in terms of, you know, training a new dog or pup. Might be important for me with, hey, I'm looking where to kind of invest my finances, or I know I need to update my life insurance policy. Like, it might be important at that time. But then once I get out of that initial moment, it's not that important compared to other things that are going on. So really, again, no judgment there. So the question comes, like, how do we actually make this an urgent thing, an important thing to our prospects? Because we know how important it is. Sense of anonymity. This is a big one that I think often gets overlooked. No-shows happen when people feel like there's no consequences to no-showing. When they're just interacting online with a nameless, faceless business, very easy to no-show. If you and I made a commitment, we say, hey, Gabriel, health is super important to me. I want to start a workout habit. I don't even want to wait till the new year to start a New Year's resolution. So I'm going to be your workout partner. Do you want to be workout partners? We'll meet at the gym 3 days a week. We're going to meet at 7 o'clock in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because health is important to me. You make that commitment to me, and I make that commitment to you. How likely do you think I am to show up to the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Probably pretty likely, right? Now, flip that on its head and say, okay, well, imagine I join a Facebook group where there's 50,000 people in this Facebook group, and we're all making a commitment to our health. And we say, hey, let's make a commitment that we're going to go to the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then post in this group when you've done that. Now, it's probably better than nothing, but it's very easy to kind of like sit in anonymity, to be anonymous, to be not seen, to not there's not really high stakes. There's not a high level of commitment to me actually showing up. And the same is true with your prospects, because if they come into your business and they schedule an appointment and they feel like they can kind of like just duck out the back door and no one's going to notice the difference, there's not much like commitment or table stakes required for their appointment, you're making it easier for them to ghost you, to no-show you. So again, how can we increase that level of, I guess the opposite of this, and instead of anonymity, is like actually feeling connected and known and seen that there is some level of commitment. The obvious ones, there's a poor reminder system or scheduling process, especially if it's like highly manual. We definitely want that personal touch, but there's a balance there. Inconvenient timing or location. That can be true for, depending upon what you have available. Sometimes some businesses will have too many open slots and too much time available. Other times you might not have enough and you're just not offering kind of like the convenience. Like, how could I make it easy? I still want it to be for there to be some friction, because I want the people that I'm having meetings with to be qualified. If I make it super easy for them, there might be not enough commitment, but I want to make it easy enough to where it is. I'm going to be able to get those qualified, ideal clients, ideal prospects, to go ahead and book an appointment and stick with it. And then obviously you get the forgetfulness or just kind of like last minute conflicts. There's certain things, obviously, as you can see on this list, that are in our control, others that are not. But all of them we can have a solution for. What most other agencies are going to tell you, they're going to tell you to do things like, hey, charge a deposit for your appointment. I know some of you do that or have tried that kind of in the past. They might have you send some generic ass videos, before the appointment, like, hey, just go ahead and send out some videos. And again, videos can be really helpful. But if you do all of these things and the appointment is not actually locked in, like in the minds, in the hearts of your prospects, they're going to ghost you no matter what. So again, if going back to, is it important enough to them? And if it's not, they're going to no-show, they're going to ghost, they're going to cancel, regardless of the strategy that you implement. So, you look at some of these things. Is there more commitment if you charge a deposit? Yes, potentially, but really you're just kind of like upping the risk for the prospect, not necessarily giving them a good reason for that, other than just like, hey, I don't want you to ghost me. And like, how does that set the precedent for what's hopefully to come in a good and healthy client service provider relationship? You're starting off on the foot of like, don't run out on me or else I'm going to penalize you, which I don't think is really a great way to kind of like start the relationship. Other owners, they're going to blame things like lead quality. When we see other businesses with the exact same leads who are able to actually convert those leads into appointments and showed appointments, no problem. They'll blame that their reminders don't work. When maybe if we look into the reminders, they're nothing other than that. It's literally just a notification, which there is some benefit to notifications where, really that tackles the forgetfulness piece. But if that's all that your reminders are doing, then there's not enough value in them. And you probably only need like two, like one when they book the appointment, and then one maybe, some amount of time before, like whenever that last most helpful reminder is. Or they'll blame, hey, I'm doing this like follow-up, this relentless, like I'm doing everything I can. I'm just not connecting. Like people aren't picking up my calls. They're not responding to my texts. But that's typically because, those owners, they've not addressed the obvious thing, which what's the obvious? It's really that you're just blending in, that your messages, your reminders, your follow-up is blending in kind of with the noise of everything else that's going on with those prospects. So obviously you need to do something to stand out. There needs to be, you probably heard the idea of like a pattern interrupt. So funny. I see this all the time and get lots of questions about like, oh, the algorithm changes, and businesses and marketers, they'll be talking about like, oh, hey, the algorithm changed on Instagram, or Facebook is shadow banning me for this. It's always funny to me because like they're putting it out there as if like there is some mathematical piece of code that is making decisions about whose stuff to show and whose stuff not to show, and like whether you're going to get visibility in the marketplace or not. But in reality, all that the algorithm is just human preference. Like what sticks out to me as someone who's like scrolling my phone on YouTube or on Instagram, what's going to stop someone? You know, we talked about this, the scroll stop. If I'm scrolling YouTube, what's going to be the thumbnail and image and the title that's going to get me to stop scrolling? And even better, get me to stop scrolling and actually click to start watching a piece of content. And it's the same thing in my inbox. Like, what's going to be the thing that when I'm scanning my inbox, what's the first email that I'm going to go to? It's usually not the one at the very top of the list. And Google, Yahoo, AOL, Hotmail, all of these internet service providers, their like quote unquote algorithm is just a response to what your prospects are choosing when they go into their inbox, when they go into their feed. So it's not that the, you know, Mark Zuckerberg and the staff at Google is not deciding what to show and what not to show. They're just responding to, okay, hey, the system is going to prioritize those things that are a pattern interrupt, that your prospects, your future clients actually are voting that they prefer by opening, clicking, responding to. So you need to do something. This is really important to actually help your prospects literally see how important that this is. So you have to think of not just like what you do is actually important, but how you get the message in front of them is just as, if not equally important. So enough about the problem. How do we solve it? Let me pop over here real quick into this Miro board. So we walked through kind of the process, right? Like all the work that leads up to go to the appointment. And there certainly are things that can be done even at these initial steps. I'm not going to dive deep onto these because I don't want you to focus on these now, but I want you to be aware that everything that you do from that first impression is going to set precedent for whether someone is going to no-show you or not. In the same way that I said, you know, maybe collecting a deposit for appointments is setting you off on the wrong foot because it's setting a weird precedent for your relationship with your prospect. Same thing with anything that you're doing kind of like top of funnel. So if we look at, you know, what's the content on our website and our blog, what's the content on our social media, on our YouTube, that's going to position us in a certain way in the minds of our client that is going to make that appointment we hold with them either more valuable or less valuable. So which one is it doing? It's either a piece of content that's adding to the value that you provide or it's detracting from. Same thing, as soon as a new lead comes into your system, as soon as they like fill out that inquiry form, the thank you bridge, and we're going to get a little bit into this because this does apply even also to the appointment side of things, but like as soon as they hit submit on that form, what is the very first next thing that they literally see on their screen, on their phone, after they hang up the phone, you know, talking to like calling your business? Your AI sales assistant. So if you're using Ava, like that conversation leading up to it, you know, is it clear? Is it human-like? Is it connecting with your prospects? The engagement system is all about like, okay, we now have the new lead, but how are we actually getting them to book an appointment? So that any sort of lead nurture, like follow-up sequences that you have. If you have a setter, someone in your business who is actually calling or texting to follow up with leads to try to book an appointment, what's their SOP, what's their process? So all of these things do influence the show rate. Again, we're not going to dive deep into them on this particular call. Happy to on future trainings and things, but I wanted to really focus on where you're going to get the most bang for your buck, which is at the point that somebody actually books. Because chances are, if someone's gone through all of these steps to the point of booking an appointment, you've probably done a good enough job to where we can make sure that they actually do show up, so we can serve them, we can make an offer, and then very likely turn them into a paying client. And we're going to dive into a couple different categories of things that you can do. There's a lot of things that you can do. At the end of this, I'm going to ask you to pick one. So be taking notes kind of on this, and then we can get into some Q&A at the end too, to see kind of like what you're doing, maybe what some tweaks are that you'll want to or need to make. But this is going to be broken out into things that are kind of like quick and easy to implement, and then also some things that are really high impact. So things that I think, especially depending upon where you're at in business, If you're already really operationally sound, things are working really well, and you just want something kind of quick and easy that you can add into the mix to try to move the needle a little bit, that's kind of one category of owners and business people. On the flip side, you might be in a like crisis mode of, wow, like I have to make the most out of every single lead. And if I don't, I'm not going to be able to make payroll. I'm going to go out of business. That's where maybe we want to put in a little more elbow grease, do some things that are high impact that might not be as high leverage, meaning it might take a little more effort, things that don't scale as much, a little more manual type of things, but are certainly going to move the needle a lot more. And it's kind of one of these things, whether you have, most businesses, it's like you have more time, more money. In the beginning, you might have a lot more time than money because you're just kind of getting things started, you're bootstrapping things, where once you have a lot of clients and a lot of revenue going through and a lot of staff, you might have more money, less time. So you got to be kind of focused with your efforts. So we will cover kind of both ends with the goal of eliminating the leaky bucket and really optimizing to make sure that as many of those booked appointments that we book actually do show up so we can make the offer. All right. So while I'm rocking on this, if you've got questions, drop it into the chat. I will come to those at the end here. And then also I want to know, like, what, so far, what's your biggest takeaway? What did you need to hear most before we get into kind of the solutions here? All right. So how do we actually solve the show rate problem? Let's start with the easiest to implement, then we'll work our way to the most impactful. I did kind of like reorder these things very intentionally, so they are in a specific order for a specific reason. First, the easiest, because knowing no context and nothing else, if I had to like jump into a business, this is the order that I would implement these things. Not saying that that's exactly the right case for you. You know your business better than anyone, and happy to get into that again with the Q&A. But this is the order, if I knew nothing else and knew no context, that I would implement, starting with the easiest things first. So the first thing would be to set expectations clearly with something I call a thank you bridge video. What is a thank you bridge video? Okay, put yourself in the shoes of your prospect. They, if we go back over here to the flow, they're a complete stranger. They have a problem that they're looking to solve. They have an encounter with your business. There's that first impression. They then at some point, maybe soon after they first see your business because they just saw an ad for the first time, or maybe they've been following you for a while, or maybe they heard about you and it's much later, they opt in and drop into your CRM. Through automation and follow-up and AI and all the things, there's some back and forth conversation that happens, and they're finally ready to book an appointment. Appointment is booked. What is the very next thing that happens from there? So the thank you bridge video could be dropped in a couple places. If you are sending somebody to a calendar page on a landing page with the calendar where they are picking their time, they are putting in their information. As soon as they hit submit, there's a confirmation message usually that happens of, great, your appointment's booked at this time, add it to your calendar here. Great, you've given them the opportunity to add it to their calendar, but wouldn't it be better if right then and there, while you have their attention, you actually use that opportunity to help explain to them what's going to happen next? Imagine having a video on that page. Hey, this is Gabriel with Growth Map. So excited that you just signed up for a free discovery session. Excited to dive into your business. Here's what you can expect next. I just sent you an email with the details. Make sure to add this to your calendar. If you, when you show up, I have a free gift for you that I want to give to you just for showing up. We'll get more into that later, by the way. And I'm just so excited to meet you there. But like, here's where the email is. Let me show you on my screen. Here's what it looks like. Here's the subject line. Find that. I'm going to send you a couple things over the next couple of days before our appointment so we can make the most of our time. If you have any questions, here's how to reach us, right? So you can record that video. Might take you 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 2 minutes to record the video. Now, if you're anything like me, you're probably gonna do it a few times because you're self-critical. Don't worry about it. Pull out your phone, look at the green dot on your phone, and just talk to someone like a normal human if they had just booked an appointment of what to expect next and why it matters and what you're going to do for them with that next step. So that's if they are booking going through, again, an actual calendar link, and some of you are doing that. If you're using like our AI sales assistant or you're booking things over text, you could do the exact same thing just with a link. Hey, great, your appointment is booked. Just wanted to share this with you. Check out this short video, and it's 2 minutes long, and then just text me back when you're done so I know that you've got it, right? So you can use this video regardless of how you're booking appointments, whether you're doing it through AI, whether you're doing it manually through text, or whether you're just having somebody go through a funnel and book it on their own. But having that video of what to expect next, and you'll see this all the time. I'm sure all of you have opted into some sort of funnel at some point, and after the opt-in, you see a page where there's a video and it tells you what to expect next. There's a reason why the most successful businesses out there do this, because it works, and it's very quick and easy to get implemented into your system. All right, the next thing, probably the most obvious, are appointment reminders. But here's the important key that actually serve your client. Most of you have appointment reminders, and when we install appointment reminders into a business, they are pretty generic by default, because you've got to add into them those pieces that are going to actually make them more valuable. What do I mean by that? Well, the table stakes for appointment reminders are that they are a notification that are going to let your people know when, where, and on what date, what location the appointment is. So at a bare minimum, this is like total like table stakes. This is like my son showing up to school and like brushing his teeth before going to school. This is not him studying or doing well on tests or giving his all. This is like literally like the absolute baseline just for being a student. Like, make sure you've got your uniform on, it matches dress code, you brushed your teeth, and you're there on time. Like, absolute table stakes. So yes, we do want to let them know when, where, and how we're meeting. But what's more important is we want to share why the appointment matters. So we want to take this opportunity because people expect to get those reminders. So they're probably going to look for them, especially the very first one. So the opportunity you have to put into that, yes, we want to reemphasize the why, like, hey, we're so excited to meet you, and we do all these amazing things. We're excited for you to meet, you and our happy dogs. But we want to take it a step deeper, maybe, and dive into the pain that they want to avoid. If you're able to, in that initial reminder, hey, so excited to meet with you. Most of our successful clients come in dealing with X, Y, Z. This things that you hear them talk about all the time. They come into us because they've tried 17 different training programs on their own, and their dog's just not listening to them. They feel like every financial advisor that they've talked to is just a salesperson trying to get a commission, right? You name it. You know the pains that your market has, and being able to reflect that and in that initial reminder, it reminds them of why this is so important. And then we can talk about the gain they want to achieve too. I will tell you, kind of marketing life hack here, people are a whole lot more likely to respond to, or you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck out of talking about the pain they want to avoid. And now I'm not saying that we need to become, CNN and Fox News and every other media channel out there that's just like harping on the negative side of things. We definitely don't want to do that. But in the early stages, if you truly want to serve people and feel like what you have to offer is going to make a big impact in the lives of your clients and your market, helping them get clear on the pain that they want to avoid is service. If you can help them articulate the problem that they're dealing with better than they can, they're going to assume you have the solution. So include those elements in your appointment reminders. And then on the gain side, we want to future pace. We want to show them what is possible. And this is where things like social proof, they can see themselves in somebody else's shoes. reviews, social proof, testimonials, you name it, demo videos of you actually doing the work that you do. Those are all things to include in those appointment reminders. So again, so that it's not just this table stakes notification of date, time, and place, right? All right, so that's the appointment reminders. Number 3, the getting to know you form. This is something we pulled from Susie and Teddy in Sit Mean Sit, Middle Tennessee. I've actually had other funnels and campaigns and things in the past where we've included some kind of like survey or questionnaire or application type form. When I was consulting for equity back in the day, I would always have a pretty extensive application that someone would fill out before we hopped on a call. And one, it was incredibly valuable because I got to understand my prospect a lot more. One, to see if I could help them or not. And it really helped to fast track the conversation. But probably more importantly, or just as importantly, it was a sign of commitment on the prospect's end. They now had to actually do something. It gets them engaged, gets them more likely to show up, and more likely actually even to convert. So this is one of those things that's not just going to be likely to get them to show at a higher rate, but also likely to convert at a higher rate. So put together a handful of questions. What are 5 or 6 questions, open-ended questions, not yes/no questions, open-ended questions that you could ask them, that if they answered those questions before your sales call with them, before your appointment with them, would make that appointment more valuable. Not just would give you a better chance to sell them. Yes, that's important, but like it's actually going to make it more valuable. Like how can you connect with them ahead of time? Because if you do that, the sales will come as a byproduct. And then actually have a process to monitor that. So it's one thing to include that and just like hit them over the head a couple times with some automated reminders and emails. But what would it look like if you actually monitor to see who filled out that form and didn't? And for the folks that didn't, 24 hours before, place a quick phone call. And we'll get into the phone call piece in a bit and how to actually handle that too. Because there's a right way and a wrong way of doing the phone call before an appointment. So send out some kind of getting to know you form, some type of, application form before the appointment. That's going to get some level of commitment. And then the last, which is, this will help some. I almost hesitate to include this because again, this is kind of one of those table stakes type of things. We'll automatically include in your system, with Growth Map, but having a reschedule workflow. So this only works, by the way, if you're using AI or an automated calendar like self-booking system where people can book on their own. But if you are doing that, then you have the ability, like when somebody cancels, it can automatically, send out a request to reschedule. If they no-show, as long as you go into the system and toggle that appointment from confirmed to no-showed, it will trigger that whole workflow. So having that is helpful. These top 3 things I think are going to be a lot more impactful. I included in here probably honestly because I have 4 in the next section too, and then I wanted some symmetry. But again, this is the order that I would do these things. Especially on the things that are kind of low hanging fruit, really easy to implement. And I would have everybody do these. Now, if you've already done all of these and or you're in a spot where you're like, Gabriel, we're barely making it. I have to be able to close more leads. I'm getting way too many no-shows and I will do whatever it takes. I would actually start with the high impact moves first and then go to the easy to implement. Because these things are going to have a larger impact on your show rate. And this is, again, statistically proven by data over hundreds of businesses, thousands of appointments. It just is what it is. So the first is speed to lead. So we talk about speed to lead all the time with your top of funnel marketing, when you're running Facebook ads, when somebody opts into your website. Speed to lead's important. We want you replying to those leads, reaching out to those leads within the first 5 minutes, ideally within the first 2 to 3 minutes of them opting in, because that's when you have their attention. When you have their attention is the best time to get their attention. The same thing is true with a new appointment. So imagine somebody books an appointment and you actually pick up the phone within 5 minutes and give them a call. And again, I'm not saying everybody has the bandwidth to do this 24/7, 365, but if you're in a spot where like you've really got to just like make this work, or else like bad stuff's going to happen in your life and in your business, then this is one of those things I would say like is an absolute must. Every single appointment that comes in, within the first 5 minutes, I want you picking up the phone. I want you giving them a call. Now, what does that call look like? And how do you avoid end up doing kind of a sales call on the fly? You see the appointment come in, you open up your app, you dial the contact. Hey, Joe, Gabriel here. Hey, I just got a few minutes because I'm actually just heading in to work with another client, but I just saw that you booked an appointment for next Tuesday with you and Fluffy. So excited to meet you guys. I'm going to send a couple of things over, but I just wanted to reach out and introduce myself, see if there was any kind of like initial thoughts, questions that you had. Again, I don't have a whole lot of time, but I just wanted to introduce myself. Cool. They might have a question. They might ask you how much it is. You have to be prepared for that, right? Hey, and if it gets into one of those kind of like open-ended questions, it's like a crazy one that you really wouldn't want to answer except for on the demo. Hey, that's a great question. Over the next couple of days, I'm going to send you a couple of things. Let's definitely chat about that on the call, or I can follow up via email. I just sent you some something to check out, if we have the video, right? Go watch that. And then let's loop back around. If you're still unsure about that, or have more questions, let us know. And I look forward to answering all of them when we meet on Tuesday at 5, right? You can wrap. You gave yourself an out at the beginning of the call because you said that you had something coming up, so you don't have the ability to just sit on the phone there forever. But you reached out, you made a connection. If they don't pick up, you can go ahead and leave a voicemail. That's obviously super easy and personal. If they do pick up, even better. Now, what have you done? You've reduced the anonymity. They are known and seen. Oh, shoot, I filled out this form. Somebody is actually waiting for me on the other end. There is a higher level of commitment there. The next thing, personalized video, DM or text. You could do something similar, but rather than actually placing a call, you could pull out your phone, turn the camera on, record a 60-second video, do the exact same thing, and send it to them. Hey, Joe, Gabriel here with Growth Map. I just saw that you booked an appointment for next Tuesday. So excited to meet with you. Here's what we're going to go over. We're going to go everything about your existing sales process. And I'm happy to share, the top 2 or 3 things that I would do if I were in your shoes. And then if it's a fit and it makes sense, I'm happy to share what it looks like to work with us. If not, I hope you walk away with, the time being a great investment of your time. If you have any questions before, go ahead and hit us back. Otherwise, I'll see you next Tuesday. Boom. Record a short video. You can do that on your phone. You can actually send that through Growth Map as a text message. You can record it right in the Lead Connector app itself. There's also plenty of tools that you could use. One of my favorites is Loom. So you can download Loom for free on your phone. That's a really easy way of like recording those kinds of videos and then being able to share them and send over a text message. I've got one client who sells into an industry of like ultra high net worth, like really high end, like B2B type of business. He does this with every single lead, and it completely sets us apart. Everybody is totally baffled at the fact that Mike sends them a personalized video with his face calling out them and their name, and it's very obviously not AI. It's very obviously not human. Again, we want to use all of those things for leverage, but we will also want to sprinkle in some of those human elements because it's the thing that are going to be the difference makers, where it's very easy to set yourself apart by sending a simple video. Now, by the way, when you first start doing this, you're not going to be as great at it, but that's okay. You can get better over time. And by the way, you can re-record. You don't have to send the first version that you record. And the more reps that you do, the better you're going to get at that. Number 7, an incentivize attendance. So give them a reason to actually show up. All sorts of things, but I would this is probably a whole other training that we would need to dive into in terms of like, what could you provide that would cost you little to nothing, that has immense value to your prospect. Now, by the way, you don't have to be the only one to create these things, these bonus, this incentive. You could partner with another business too. If you're a dog trainer, maybe you partner with a grooming company or a boarding company if you don't have one, right? Or you say, hey, by the way, our friends over at, whatever, at Canine Corral have offered a free doggy daycare session for everyone that shows up. So the only way to claim that is by, once we see you for your in-person consultation. But I'm super excited to give you that just as our gift to you and our partnership with, Canine Corral, right? So it could be something that somebody else offers and you find a strategic partner. Do you think they're pretty stoked on that because they now have a new potential lead, and they might be willing to give that up as their lead magnet? In the same way, imagine if you gave your demo or consultation as a lead magnet to another business, and then you kind of resip and swap that. So coming up with some reason or something that you could incentivize them with. It could be a digital product too. It's like, hey, I'm going to send you our free whatever puppy potty training worksheet, or I'm going to give you this, or I'm going to get, like, you got to think of something. It's got to be something that is actually valuable to your prospect. And ideally it's something that costs you little or nothing to deliver. And then the last thing, which is probably the most complex, but probably one of the most needle moving things that you could do, and this is definitely an advanced move, but that is to create what's called a VSL, or video sales letter. A video sales letter is just kind of exactly what it sounds like. It's a video of you kind of breaking down some of the use case or sales case for the service that you offer. Now, when you hear video sales letter, a lot of people think of like infomercial, or, hey, I'm just talking about my service, the product that I offer, the benefits, the features. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm more talking about is a what to expect video, where, again, in probably more of a long form format, you're breaking down things like, hey, this is Gabriel with Growth Map here. Here's a lot of the things that we find that, our most successful clients that we work with, when they come in, things that they've tried before. So if you've tried any of these, don't worry, you're not alone. And you kind of break down the things that that people have tried before. You can make fun of the things that your competitors do. Hey, I know these other trainers out there are saying that you got to do X, Y, Z, or that you've got to, have all of this, that you've got to stick with them and their lessons over and over and over for repetition. It's really just an exhausting way to get them to continue charging you money over and over and over. And that's really not the case. What we found out is it's much more efficient if we do X, right? So kind of making fun of what the competitors do that doesn't work. Identifying where they're currently at, talking about like, hey, here's, client 1, client 2, client 3, when they came in, they were dealing with issue 1, issue 2, issue 3. So if that's you, like you're not alone. Here's where we were able to get them to. By the way, here's where they're at. Here's a video of, so-and-so walking off leash downtown with their pup after just 2 training sessions with us, right? So recording a long form video that really is educational in nature, that's helping them get clear on the pain that they're dealing with, where they want to go with things. And really what's most important is that video is speaking to the beliefs that your prospect must adopt to make your service the inevitable choice, the inevitable solution. So if you did nothing other than just make a long list of like, okay, for all my best clients, the ones that are like a no-brainer, I don't have to work on closing at all, that are just like sold as soon as they come in, what are the specific things that they believe that are different from the people that are impossible to close or never sign up? And I know the first thing you're going to tell me, by the way, is like, oh, it's the price. It's not the price. Price is probably part of it, but there's a difference between they literally can't afford it because they're in bankruptcy, they don't have any credit cards, they've got no access to capital, and they're behind on their rent. That's a price objection. Versus it's not valuable enough. if they've got a credit card, if they've got access to capital, if they can do payments. I know we've got folks who are selling to broke college students and making it work. It's not just a price thing. So what are the things that they believe, the people that do buy very easily, that those that don't believe? And if you speak to those and you can kind of help speak to those beliefs in that video, you're going to win. And by the way, if you use this in conjunction with that getting to know you form and kind of monitor and encourage the consumption of this video. So, hey, I'm going to send you this video before our appointment. Make sure you check it out. It's going to give you a really good understanding of our training philosophy and what we do so that we can make the most of our time. Again, you got to put it in the perspective of what's in it for them, because their time is valuable, and you want to emphasize that. So here's your homework, and then we'll get into Q&A. I want you to pick one of the tactics that we talked about here today that you're not currently using, and I want to install it into your acquisition system in the next 7 days. So just one, and again, just to kind of emphasize what they were, some kind of thank you bridge video. So as soon as they book an appointment, that video is seen either on the thank you page or it's sent out via text.
This call will be recorded.
Those appointment reminders, with the and more than just the table stakes, making sure to actually, and maybe you already have appointment reminders, but going in there and refreshing them to make sure that you actually are creating a compelling case as to why the appointment matters and including that throughout your reminder sequence. Adding in a getting to know you form or application before your appointments. This is the only one I'm going to take off the table. The reschedule workflow, like if you're going to do this, you've got to pick another one too. Then you'd have to pick two. So no picking the reschedule workflow until you do a different one. Be the lead. So, hey, I'm committed to, over the next 30 days, calling every appointment. Ideally within the first 5 minutes. If that's impossible because they book in the middle of the night, that's fine. First thing in the morning, the next day, I'm calling them to confirm those appointments. A personalized video, DM, or text. This is probably my favorite of all of these, other than the VSL, which is a lot more complicated. The personalized video, DM, or text is one of the easiest. Or come up with an incentive to incentivize attendance. So with that, what did you need to hear most? Biggest takeaways from the show rate optimizer? Robin.
Okay. So I started with the, when I do have a lead that books an appointment or an evaluation, I started doing a little video to them. So I don't have any results yet because that's a new process that I started this week. It is a little.
For you. Before you started that, do you know what was your show rate before that? If we looked at historically all appointments that have been booked versus showed, do you know that rate? And everybody should know this number, by the way.
That would be negative ghostwriter. I do not know. I know that I have a lot of no-shows, and I know that I could run a report to see exactly what they are. But I do get a significant amount of no-shows. I'm going to make it up and say maybe 25%. Okay.
Let's do this because the worst thing that you can do in marketing is make it up. So what I want you to do is make it when it's something that is like a key metric that you're wanting to improve, right. Make it manual. Yes, we can in the dashboard look at things and have those numbers and reports auto-generated, but I would make it manual to, maybe it's literally just in a spreadsheet, or maybe it's just on like a piece of paper. Like every week you write down the appointments that you have, and it's like showed or no showed, so that you can tally that and see what your percentage is. Because what we want to do is we want to compare that over the long haul of like, I made this change. Is it actually making a difference or not? Again, that's testing that hypothesis. And obviously, there's kind of a caveat to that, because if we're doing low numbers, you might have 5 appointments this week, 4 next week. And if 2 of them no-show you next week, you're like, well, shoot, I've got a 50% no-show rate. But if we look at the 9 and nobody no-showed you the week before, and it's like 2 out of 9, you're like, okay, it's not really 50%. So we take it with a grain of salt, but still we do want to measure from change to change. So from before we did this new thing to after.
So I'm looking at my dashboard right now, And
Yeah,
that
cool.
actually is on my dashboard.
There you go. All right.
So
rock and roll.
from November 4th to December 4th, we did 23 demos.
Perfect.
And according to this, which I am not 100% that Mr. Benedict puts all of the correct stuff in, but according to this, I had 2 no-shows.
Okay. All right.
I had 5 that canceled and 2
Okay.
no.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Which, yeah, we would probably want to include that in there, especially if we're not able to reschedule those cancels. So if we had 7 out of 23, so that's what, a 30%
Hey,
no-show rate.
close. I was pretty close.
Yeah, you were pretty close, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, if we add in the video piece, and let's say we go to a 15 or a 20, if we go to a 15% no-show rate at that point, you literally doubled your efficiency, because you would have gone from 15 to 30%. That could be a massive amount. So, well, I would continue tracking that. Definitely look at the numbers. And then if we don't trust the data entry specialist, Mr. Benedict, then we can obviously cross-check that with the, like, hey, maybe I'm just writing down the list of people that did no show or cancel, so that you have that kind of manually to refer to. But yeah, what's your question?
So my question is, when you were saying about when they put in a form or they book an appointment, having a video that's automatically generated, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. So you would need to record the video, but what I would recommend putting on that video would be kind of a, hey, thank you so much for booking. Here's what to expect next, and literally tell people what to expect. Hey, I just sent you an email. Go to your inbox. It's going to have the details with the appointment. Make sure to add it to your calendar. Here's what we're going to go over in the appointment. I'm going to meet you and your dog. I'm going to go through this process. Like, give them the 15-second rundown of why it matters and what's important. And they're making a connection with you. If they're going to be meeting with you, let them know that it's you. If they're going to be meeting with your team, hey, be meeting with me and my team. We get to meet. You'll see us. There'll be a bunch of us there working our dog. Like, give them some insight into what is going to happen on that appointment. 2-3 minutes tops. Shoot it with your video, with your camera, or with your phone. And then we can put that video onto a landing page in Growth Map, so that if they book through Ava, we just send out a link to that page, like, hey, just booked your appointment. Recorded a short 2-minute video for you to see what to expect. Go check it out, and then hit me back as soon as you've watched it, so I know you have everything that you need.
So
right?
Did you say that we can personalize it, or we can't personalize that?
Oh, absolutely. You can personalize it, and it should be personal. So yeah, so we're not going to record the video for you. You would need to record the video.
Right. So if there's like just a generic video that I make, is there a way to insert their name? Or, I mean,
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Got it. Yeah. So these are 2 different things. So there's the thank you bridge video, which would be a generic video where you're just talking to the general customer who just booked. That's very easy because it scales, because you can record it once and we can use it for everybody. There are some tools out there, and we're testing some AI content and an AI content generator right now that would be able to, like, automate some of this. But for this specific purpose, I think that high touch is really important. So I would pick one of the 2 things. I would say, hey, we're going to have a generic video. It's going to be on a page. It's going to be able to be used for anybody that books an appointment, or doing what you're doing, where it's like, okay, I'm going to record a personalized video. Now, you could use those things together. So, like, if you're like, what are you saying in the videos that you're sending them right now?
I usually say, hi, and obviously I have their name. Thank you so much for reaching out to us regarding your dog, Bailey. We look forward to meeting you on Saturday at 10:30. If you have any questions or concerns before then, please reach out to us. I give the phone number. And then I usually say, sometimes things come up and you're unable to make it. If you could just please give us a call or notify us if you're unable to make the appointment, we would absolutely appreciate that. And we can't wait to meet you on Saturday.
Perfect. Yeah. Awesome. That's great. So I would keep doing that. If you wanted to also layer in the thank you bridge video, I would make that more about what to expect on
Okay.
during the appointment, and just give them a short 2-3 minute walkthrough. It's funny. We have a client who's a chiropractor, but he also has kind of like a natural medicine business where he does this crazy cool stuff with like regenerative medicine and platelet rich plasma therapy to help with like knee pain and all this kind of stuff, right? And he sells into a farming community of like just kind of blue collar type folks, right? Not scientific, not techie kind of people. And he was having a hard time getting people to show up to his appointments. And I said, okay, well, Dr. Justin, if someone were sitting down in front of you, what's the first 2 minutes what's the first 2 minutes of your conversation going to look like with that prospect? Because usually it's a setting the stage of like, hey, so great that you're here today. Here's what we're going to talk about. And by the way, and then what for him, he specifically explained his methodology. He's like, here's how PRP works. It's kind of like if you're tilling the soil, you want to get all those nutrients up. So we do that with your blood. And then we have this stem cell. Don't worry, it's not taken from a baby. And we spin it up, we re-inject it, and that allows your body to regenerate and like re-heal itself. And so what we're going to do is going to see if we're a good candidate for that. The way he explained it was much better than me. I'm not a doctor, right? And I don't pretend to play one on TV. I was like, hey, that was perfect. Record that 2 minutes, and we're going to put that on the thank you page of people opting in. We did that, and the show rate went higher. The conversion rate went higher. We used it right after people had opted in for ads. They saw that video because all of a sudden, like they had a better understanding of what to expect next, which kind of increased the commitment. There's increased clarity on their end too. So just by like the simple thing of like, hey, there's an email in your inbox, add it to your calendar. Here's the things we're going to go over in our meeting. Here's why it's going to be valuable for you. No strings attached. Whether you decide to work with us or not, you're going to get value from it. Excited to see you there. Like that's what I would put into that video.
So once I record that video, do I just send it to your team and say, hey,
I'm doing office hours.
Oh,
bring it to an office hours, and we'll walk through how to set up a landing page, because it's super simple. So
yeah,
we need the video, and then we can help you. It's simple for us, and it will be beneficial to others too. So we'll essentially all we need to do is we just need to put together a page, and what we may end up doing is building kind of like a template that we can use.
I see you laughing out there over there in California. You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. Oh, it's easy. Sure.
It's easy. Yeah. We'll say this: it doesn't have to be hard, and we will make sure that it is not hard. But yeah, if you record the video, bring that to an office hours, and then if we don't finish it on that office hours, we can have the team help finish it up, wrap it up.
So for the office hours, is that like, do you need to book a time, or do you need to sign up for that, or you just show up and everybody's asking you to do all kinds of stuff?
I mean, yes, and yes. No, you don't need to book a time. There are times for the office hours, so I'll drop this in the chat. It's Tuesday and Thursdays. It's usually at the same time every single week. So just show up and we'll get you taken care of. I mean, it's like usually Anthony's personal one-on-one session is what office hours typically is. So.
I love it. Probably why his business is kicking ass, right?
I mean, I'll tell you, like Susie and Teddy sent in more support tickets and showed up to more calls in the first month when we initially did the pilot program than anyone else. And they were the ones who went from 20 grand a month to $64,000 a month, like within 90 days because of it. So it's like, and Anthony loves it when you bring questions, because then he actually, like, there's plenty of times where like, oh, that's something new that I learned. He didn't think to ask. So like, that's why the office hours is so important, because it's not like, I want to solve your issue and help you with your problem. But, like rising tide lifts all boats, everybody learns more and gets better from it. It's how we got the getting to know you form and other ideas and things that we've implemented.
All right, I don't want to take any more time.
You said bring it to office hours. I was like, oh yeah, do that.
Yeah, exactly.
How do I mute this damn
totally
thing?
wanted to see that.
I don't know. Well, you're muted now. Awesome. Who else has questions? So around the show rate optimizer. takeaways. What do you need to hear most? I'm curious what, so I think I have an idea what Robin's gonna try. Neil,
Is
Anthony,
clothing optional
Lisa.
in the video?
Yeah, use your phone. Just
No,
record
I
it with
said
your
is
phone.
clothing. Is clothing
Oh, clothing.
optional?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're shooting shoulders up, waist up, I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess it depends on
I
where. Yeah.
was thinking of wearing something a little provocative, get the guys in. No.
We know your former profession, so I guess as long as we're not doing it on one of those tables,
Yeah.
like with those contraptions, then we're probably good. Yeah. Oh, that's fine. I'm glad my background is red today, because otherwise I would look very I would be red compared to the background. So, you got me. What else you guys got? Who else has questions or takeaways around this? I was excited to put this one to get together.
I have a question, but the really good ideas of just doing a little extra and personalizing things that I really like. I hadn't really considered using reminders as, like, okay, here's the important stuff you need to know being here, but maybe somehow making that more interesting or more personal. We normally are setting an expectation of the days and the times that you're going to put in, but I can see really making it a little more interesting, because, our personality here is just that, it's a personality. So like I could see saying like, we normally expect to have a conversation, about 40 minutes to cover what's important to you. Of course, some of us talk too much and we like dogs too much. So if you meet Ed, maybe you're going to have to be more like an hour, but that's kind of up to you. If you could keep them in check, it'll be fun and it'll be super valuable to you.
Totally.
Like I could see throwing personality in there and having that resonate a little bit with people,
Absolutely, because like that personality is what reduces the anonymity. It's very easy online to be anonymous and feel anonymous, and there's no commitment. When you talk about even like specific team members are like, oh, like, yeah, you get to meet Ed, or I'll be probably coming off the trail that day, or if you have specific dogs, they're going to be in there. It gives them something to look forward to, and also makes it kind of like a real connection instead of just some nameless, faceless brand and business.
So your thank you bridge video is something maybe generic and standard that kind of goes out, where what your other suggestion is being actually more personal, like, hey, Gabe, thanks for reaching out today.
100%.
Yep. Kind of come at it both ways.
Exactly. Yeah. And the thank you bridge is like the main thing that solves is clarity. It's the what to expect, because you got to think too, like that's the point where you have their attention. So that's like the easiest place to get their attention, because you already have it. So what's the most important next thing you would want them to do and or understand? Like put that right then and there, because otherwise what's going to happen is like, you're great, like add this to your calendar, or like here's the date, and hopefully they add it to their calendar, right? And it's a missed opportunity. Not bad to say like, hey, here's the date and time, and you're confirming things. Like that's great. A lot of people don't even do that, or maybe aren't able to do that right away because they're going back and forth trying to book things over email, and it might be 3 hours before they send a confirmation. So it's still better to just like have that, but to really paint the picture of like what is next, I'm always asking myself that question. Great, like, here's what's going to happen at some part of the customer journey, and then what? And then what? And then what? So really just thinking through that and then what piece of like what would be the most valuable, most impactful thing. Because if you think of it too, like in each step of the process, when somebody is a stranger, your number one main objective is for them to not be a stranger. It's to get some sort of impression with your business, your brand, to that stranger. That's what we do advertising for. That's why we do SEO and paid ads and video and events and all those things, right? Well, as soon as we've done that, like check, what's the next step? Well, the next step is now to actually get them to become a lead. So they have to proactively give us their contact information, whether they call, text, you name it. So if you just look at step by step, as soon as somebody books an appointment, what's the very next thing I want them or need them to do? I need them to show up to that appointment. So like my number one job has now shifted from book an appointment. It's not now to sell them. My number one goal is to get them to the appointment. So how do I do that in a way where I'm not like beating them over the head with just like reminders and notifications and like overselling it? Like there's an art to it, just like there is in a sales conversation of like, hey, I hope you realize how important this is and like why we're so excited about this and why this, you let them wrestle with why it should be important to them. Like if in your appointment reminders and things and the follow-up and the videos and the copy that you're sending them, if you can start to get them to sell themselves on their own issues, it's going to ensure, one, that they show up and make it a lot easier for them to close. And you do that by highlighting the issues that they have, what your competitors are doing, what your most successful clients do or dealt with before they came to you, sharing social proof, letting them know they're not alone, like all of these things. And you can start small. Like you don't have to do all of those things all at once. Like if you literally just added in one of these pieces, you're probably going to see some lift. So
really good.
Cool. Amazing. Well, yeah, we'll get this one up in the portal here shortly. We've got our all hands call tomorrow. Excited for that, and a lot more in the works coming through kind of like the end of the year, so we can kind of slingshot into 2025 with some momentum. So excited about that. So with that, I'll leave y'all to it. We'll catch you on the flip side. Thanks for hopping in, and we'll see you next time. See you guys. Adios.